Welcome back to another video, everyone. People seem to generally like the comment video, and people wanted to see what my thoughts on the other rarities are, so let's just get right into it. Well, all the comments play pretty similarly, and I wouldn't say there's a massive difference between the best and worst one, even though it is still clear. This is not the case with the rares. Rares can be anything from being one of the best characters in the game to being some of the absolute worst. Furthermore, a lot of them play completely differently, so just because you're good with one doesn't mean you'll be good with all of them. Some of them are awful in all situations, some of them are situational but below average, some of them are good, and some of them are completely overpowered. Rares also progress in levels a lot slower than commons, whereas with commons it's going to be a few months. Rares can take you about a year. I see a lot of people that opt to not level up some of their lesser rares because it just isn't worth it. But unlike super rares, which might level up a bit faster earlier on, rares don't exponentially go up, so once you get the ball rolling, you'll be able to start getting levels at a relatively consistent rate. As expected, the rares have higher stats than the commons, although the distribution of them is relatively inconsistent. Dead is the only one with 10 speed, with 10.55 being a bit below average in total, but decent enough, especially when given the speed. Tangle is the slowest of them with 7.510, but obstacles are almost negligent, and she has workarounds for the speed. Cream is the opposite. She's very speedy with 994 stats, but needs to be careful of obstacles, which she does admittedly have a bit of an issue running into. Whisper has the same stats as Omega, although for a rarity this is relatively lower. Waves have 967 stats, and this puts her in the 9 speed bracket that Whisper really wishes she was in. Also wishing she had 9 or 10 speed was Blaze, who has 848 stats for whatever reason. I found this oddly low. Rouge and Espio have the same 986 stats, which are solid, but there's a reason for that. The highest totals of the rare go to Storm, who has 9610 stats, and Vector, who has 988 stats. These are amazing, but like Rouge and Espio, there is, or at least was, a reason for this. Of these, I'd say Blaze has my least favorite stats, while Vector might have the best stats in the whole game. You were disappointed by the commons only having 3 traps among them? Well, every single rare has a different trap. Blaze has Lava Bomb, Cream has Chownado, Jet has Tornado, Wave has Explosive Mine, Storm has Zap Trap, Vector has Bubble Bomb, Whisper has Pink Spikes, Tangle has Tail Strike, Rouge has Booby Trap, and Espio has Illusion Mines. A general rule of thumb is that if a move doesn't do any damage, then it's probably pretty bad. Illusion Mine is probably the worst move in the game. Booby Trap is pretty annoying at the start, but pretty helpless through the end. And Zap Trap is only really good for item and boost removal, but everything in the game can stop boost, so even that isn't that helpful. Bubble Bomb used to be so bad that it made Illusion Mine look good, but now that it does damage, it's gone from being completely worthless to being a difficult to see, highly useful move that does a decent amount of damage. Lava Bomb and Chownado feel a lot more difficult to land than they used to be. I think it might just be because Reaper Metal Sonic requires you to dodge them more often, but they're still pretty good. Lava Bomb doing so much damage and Chownado giving a decent speed boost mean that you only really need to hit one for it to make a pretty meaningful impact, and furthermore I find them very useful in the lead if they're placed on something like a dash pad. There's not much more to say about Tornado and Explosive Mines that weren't gone over in the comment video. Both of them are still very easy to use, with Explosive Mine being incredibly powerful, and Tornado being very useful in terms of its ring collection. I will say that in terms of Jet and Wave, the fact that they're faster than most other characters that have them are very nice. But in general, even if they didn't have good stats, they're still appreciated on them. Pink Spikes is kind of a hybrid. It works as a projectile for a while until it plops itself down and then acts as a trap. You can also go through Pink Spikes if you're the user of it. It does a decent amount of damage as well, so if timed correctly, you can place it on something like a dash pad and they'll be forced to dodge it. Finally, there's Tail Strike, which is not a trap, it is a boost. It gives a very short burst of speed and does melee damage. It may not seem like much at first, but once you can start picking up multiple at a time, or you're using in the lead, you'll really start to see what it can do. Thankfully for the video length, there are 10 different projectiles, but there are still 8. Espio, Storm, and Wave have the Whirlwind, Jet has the Bosusin, Blaze has Fire Whirl, Vector has Fireball, Rouge has Lightning, Cream has Chow Attack, Whisper has Cyan Laser, and Tangle has more Tail Strikes. On one hand, even more Tail Strikes means that Tangle isn't capable of hitting someone more than a few inches in front of her, but on the other hand, you're just boosting more, and is anybody really going to complain about boosting? Depending on which character you're talking about, the context of Whirlwind completely changes. It is either their best source of offense and not nearly good enough for their main source of offense, or alternatively, it's a complementary attack, and a really good one at that. Again, traps dealing damage matters a lot. Lightning on Rouge might be the worst combination of things ever. Lightning, first of all, isn't good. And second of all, if you hit someone with the lightning, it actually opens up a slot that might have been locked. So it's almost a liability. Fireball is still good because why would a move that travels for 10 miles and does explosive damage not be good? Basho Sin is a mostly better version of Whirlwind. While it doesn't travel quite as far and deals a little bit less damage, it leaves a trail behind it that slows down people. You can slide under this trail to avoid the slowdown effect, but in my experience, this isn't always something you can do. And even just a little bit of slowdown can be just enough for Jet to take the lead. Fire Whirl is pretty similar to Whirlwind, except it has a little bit better range and does more damage. However, it doesn't have the wind effect, and for whatever reason, you can only pick up one Fire Whirl. I'm admittedly not the biggest fan of this projectile. I don't really think it's good enough to only get one pickup. Moves that I think are good enough to warrant singular pickups, however, are Cyan Laser and Chow Attack. Cyan Laser not only hits in front of Whisper and goes very fast, but it also travels more slowly behind. This can be very nice in terms of stopping a boost or when you know somebody has to hit things. It can land a lot of hits. Chow Attack isn't as easy to land, but it does more damage, it travels fast, and has a boomerang effect, and it's pretty hard. If you don't see it coming, this can cause you a lot of problems. There are 8 boosts shared among the rares. Jet and Storm have Wind Boost, Rouge and Espio have Illusion Boost, Blaze has Fire Boost, Cream has Bunny Boost, Wave has Wrench Rush, Tangle has Tail Spring, Whisper has Green Hover, and Vector has Invincibility. Wind Boost is bad, but at least that's the only thing you can say about it. Bunny Boost is not only bad, but you have to do a lot of work to even get mileage out of it. I personally do not think it is worth it at all, and it is by far the biggest thing holding Cream back. Fire Boost is a fast and very highly damaging boost, but doesn't have the best duration. It's a fine enough boost, although I'm not sure if this is the case, but for whatever reason, it feels worse on Blaze than it does with Zavik. I think this might be because of her acceleration, but I can't tell. Illusion Boost I think is a perfectly acceptable boost. The main issue with it is that it's just not good enough to make up for the fact that the characters that have it have a weird tendency to be really bad. Wrench Rush is just outright evil. It's not necessarily overpowered, but it's probably the most annoying boost. Not only is it very fast, but because of the hitbox, that means that if you're boosting nearby a Wrench Rush, then your boost is probably going to be stopped. Invincibility is slow and doesn't last that long for something that's slow, but you're invincible, meaning that nothing is really going to worry you, and unless you're really far behind, you can catch up and be relatively safe. If you're not a fan of the fact that it's slow, maybe you can try out Tail Spring. Now, Tail Spring doesn't have the best duration, but it is much faster, and if you're worried about the jump, just slide down and use it. It's not a big deal. Then there's Green Hover. Green Hover makes it easier to dodge items for a bit and gives a slight speed increase, but I'd much rather be invincible than just be able to dodge things easier. With all this in mind, I think we can finally start getting into the part where I think people are waiting for, where I'd rank them. In 10th place, we have Espio. Espio is, in my opinion, the absolute worst character in the game. The obvious thing to blame here is illusion mines. They're borderline useless because they don't do any damage. You can just recalibrate yourself way too easily. The other things about him are fine. His stats are above average. Whirlwind and Illusion Boost get the job done. But the thing is that when you don't have anything that stands out about you and your trap is useless, and even then, your best offensive option is Whirlwind, which is the most common item in the game, there's just no reason you should ever use them over, say, Wave. In 9th place, we have Rouge. If your vote for the worst character isn't Espio, it's probably Rouge. And in fact, Rouge has even worse offense because Booby Trap doesn't do any damage, just like Illusion Mine. And Lightning is not only bad, but it directly counteracts Booby Trap. Really, I could have put her in last as well, but the only reason I did not is because Booby Trap can be kind of annoying. It's something I at least care about being hit by, even if it doesn't do any damage, and in the long run, it's still not a very good attack. In 8th place, I put Storm. Storm, like Espio, only has one good offensive move, and that is Whirlwind, which, once again, I don't know why you'd be using him over, say, Wave. The reason why he's ahead of Espio, though, is that Zap Trap, while not good, can be annoying while Storm is in the lead, and he does have the stats to be in the lead, but not only is he just very awkward to use offensively, but the fact that he has Wind Boost is a massive issue considering that he does so little damage. Furthermore, Teen Sonic is just a better version of him. In 7th place, I put Cream. This was a difficult decision to make because Cream has given me a lot of issues in certain situations, mostly because Chow Nado and Chow Attack in conjunction with each other, really hard to catch up to. The problem, though, is Cream is really bad at catching up. While Chow Attack has decent range and Chow Nado is an automon that can give you a speed boost, which is pretty good, the problem is that they don't cover a lot of spread and Bunny Boost is really, really bad. So she just has a hard time getting consistent results out of. And when you're getting +6s from first and -30s for fourth later on, you're really going to want a consistent character. In 6th place, I put Blaze. Blaze is pretty similar to Cream in terms of playstyle. She only has Fire Whirl and Lava Bomb, which hit very hard but don't have the spread. I especially don't like Fire Whirl, and I'm not a big fan of her stats. But I put her ahead of Cream because she doesn't have Bunny Boost. Fire Boost isn't even that good, it's just not Bunny Boost. In 5th place, I put Whisper. Despite not playing really anything similarly to Blaze and Cream, she kind of has the same spread issues, but I think you do have a lot better control over that one specific lane that you're targeting. Cyan Laser and Pink Spikes, if timed right, can even be annoying in the lead, which is something that a lot of projectiles can't say. However, Green Hover is just a decent boost, and I do think that there's a reason why Whisper players just end up targeting one specific player and then not actually winning. But I think she's decent, if not a little bit unexplored. In 4th place, I put Jet. Jet, despite having wind boost, is an otherwise very solid character, and a lot of this comes down to the combination of having 10 speed and 2 moves that give him rings. Bostrison and Tornado are 2 of the better moves at helping him maintain a lead, and with that plus 10 speed, Jet can be really hard to catch up to. He's just okay when behind, although I do find Bostroson's pretty good if spammed in rapid succession. But I overall do think he's a pretty massive improvement over, say, Silver or Charmy, and if you made those characters and you haven't used Jet lately, I would heavily recommend checking him out. In 3rd place, I put Wave. Wave has a very good combination of being relatively speedy alongside having explosive mines, which are typically given to slower, more tanky characters. The main reason why with this has to do with Whirlwind and Wrench Rush. Whirlwind is a little bit generic, but that can be very good in terms of giving her a decent enough projectile that can help her collect rings. And then Wrench Rush is one of the most annoying moves in the whole game, alongside being fast. So she can help keep people at bay and then land a pretty solid hit on 1st place. Very good character overall. In 2nd place, I put Vector. Vector, because of the Bubble Bomb buff, has gone from having the worst trap in the entire game to having a pretty good trap that is hard to see, has a lot of utility, prevents you from retaliating against him, and does a lot of damage. Did I say decent? That's kind of overpowered, isn't it? Fireball is amazing, his stats are insane, and invincibility is situational, but it gets the job done. I find that his stats make invincibility better for him than it does with, say, Knuckles. And effectively, he's kind of a Knuckles replacement, and I'm kind of hoping they nerf him. In 1st place, I put Tangle. I know some people who think Tangle isn't that great, but this is, in my opinion, the cheapest character in the game because of the main ways you can play her. If you have a lot of starting rings, you can just tail strike everybody at the start and then just chain them and then win. Alternatively, even if you have her a little bit under-leveled, you can just collect a boost, and then get a bunch of tail strikes, and then clutch boost the opponent with an invincible boost. I mean, yeah, if there's a Knuckles in 4th place that's gonna explosive mine you, you probably lost, but this character I've seen pull off some insane wins. Once you get the hang of her, which admittedly doesn't take long, she's easily one of the best characters in the game. Thank you for watching the video. I'd like to know in the comments what you guys think of the rares, whether you agree or disagree with me, or how you would personally rank them. If you liked the video, feel free to give a like or leave a subscription. I'll see you guys in the next video.